95.5 FM and Vaughan and Bigford share words of wisdom from Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni. We are currently in a state of war. A war without guns and bullets. A war without human soldiers. A war without borders. A war without ceasefire agreements. A war without a war room. A war without sacred zones.
During a war, you don't complain of hunger. You bear hunger and pray that you live to eat again.
A COVID-19 message from I-95.5 FM. We can win this war. Stay inside.
Hello world. Hello world. This is www.i955fm.com, Trinidad.
This Sunday on episode 34 of Eye on Dependency.
Food insecurity is associated with a higher risk of anxiety and depression. Rising food prices in the midst of a pandemic doubles that risk, especially for low-income or unemployed citizens. Next on the list of rising costs could be taxi fares. This Sunday on Eye on Dependency from 6:15 p.m., Garth and Natasha will talk about the link between food insecurity and mental health. What has been your experience and what are the solutions? Let's talk about it. Listen live on I-95.5 FM or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. And from 8:30 p.m. on TV6, don't miss episode 4 of the Eye on Health series featuring Hazel Brown, gender activist and cancer survivor. Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
This is Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha, Sundays at 6:15 p.m. on the most influential name in radio, I-95.5 FM.
The COVID-19 pandemic has created unprecedented challenges, causing great distress on public health, as well as the economy. Measures to curb the spread, i.e. quarantine, isolation, and shutdown of schools and public places, have disrupted normal activities and have caused mental health problems in many people. It is not uncommon to have a mental health crisis during a public health emergency like this. For example, the severe acute respiratory syndrome SARS epidemic in 2003 was associated with a 30% increase in suicide among over 65 years old, and 50% of recovered patients experienced anxiety. Early evidence showed that depression was among more than threefold higher during COVID-19 compared with before the pandemic. Now, given this concern, the World Health Organization warned against COVID-related mental health consequences such as loneliness, insomnia, depression, anxiety, and suicidal behavior. Poor families are particularly vulnerable during the pandemic. Not only are isolation measures strongly associated with anxiety and depression, financial stress, loss of employment, and the burden of childcare can also contribute to mental health issues and drug-related issues as well. During the pandemic, Low-income families face adverse situations related to food insecurity. Poor families often travel longer distances to acquire food and rely heavily on public transport, which has become limited or impossible due to shutdown measures. With school closures, low-income families as well with children that rely on school meals are at a higher risk of experiencing hunger, feelings of annihilation, worry, guilt, irritability, and shame from being food insecure can also cause additional psychological problems. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to Dependency. Good evening, Natasha.
Good evening, Garth. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. And thank you for joining us for this very important conversation related to food security. It's not really a topic that people are speaking about. Many people are speaking about, and we want to try to help everyone listening this evening to make the connection between the food insecurity problems that we have in Trinidad and Tobago that are exacerbated, as Garth just mentioned, by the COVID restrictions, and link that to mental health issues, which are also linked to COVID-19, but the conflagration of the two is a concern, and it's something that we feel should be addressed.
You heard the hosts of Project Hope, and Dr. Marlene Atz on Friday, and they dealt with the economic side of things. And folks, this evening the conversation is for you. We will try to keep it short at the top because we want to hear from you and how you dealt with this in so many ways, how it has affected you and your family. We have a lot of falling out at homes because of food insecurity and financial issues. Let's face it, there are some people who cannot afford to not work. Let's just put it that way. And then the food prices, again, which is absolutely ridiculous. We have some stuff to show you as well. So we urge you to join us on Facebook or YouTube if you can, but we'll try to explain to you, our radio listeners. This is serious. And one thing, let me say this up front. The supermarkets, I still cannot wrap my mind around the things that they're telling us and their justification for raising prices. Points to note that even before the pandemic, prices in supermarkets and groceries were jumping very often. You go 1 week, once something is one price, when you go next week, it's another price, higher. And it kept on rising and rising. Again, let's establish this. The only establishments were not affected by this pandemic were the supermarkets and the drugstores. They weren't affected at all, period. While everybody had to shut and close their doors, the supermarkets remained open, some of them 24/7 if they wanted. Okay? So it's kind of mind-boggling that, as I said, somebody need to explain it better to me, because somewhere along the line, I just can't wrap my mind around. Again, they're warning us of food prices going to rise. And of course, the taxis send a warning to as well. Transportation sent a warning to as well. How are you coping mentally when you hear this? Natasha will also show you a sheet from the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Natasha, and she will explain
Consumer Affairs Division.
Affairs Division, and to make you have a better understanding of how things are priced as well. So we're going to look at it from the supplier side of things, right? And the grocery and supermarket side of things.
And then, also, sorry to cut you, but also if there are any farmers listening, we want to hear your input as well, because we understand that the challenges that farmers are facing now with COVID and with climate change has affected the supply chain in terms of getting food to consumers. So if you are any farmers listening, we want to hear from you as well.
And something we don't run out at all is alcohol. So people now depend on alcohol to help them forget problems. We getting the calls, we have the proof, of homes that are struggling because of an alcoholic or drug addict in the home, and going out on very weird hours and risking their lives and the lives of their families. We have a lot. Now, this evening, I wanted also to dedicate a spot to Mr. Pinal.
Oh, Lord.
I wanted to do that, folks. We planned for it, and I hope I get the time to do it. Next week is Independence. We have a special. I didn't want to sully that program with this discussion, but it's one of the citizens I've come to realize is a clear and present danger to Trinidad and Tobago and to even our national instrument. I think he is. And it's not because of his personal attacks on me. I'm talking about, I listened to his utterances and I have him on tape this time. So anybody who know him, tell him I want him to listen to the program this evening so that I can dedicate a spot for him to take him through some steps and have a picture to show him. You know, this love he has for me and Kalyan and the equipment. We'll have a picture to show him and explain something to him. So certain part of this program will be dedicated to Mr. Pinal, because let me just repeat. I think he's a clear and present danger to the stability of our country, Trinidad and Tobago. He is. Former teacher, so he says, but I've never heard any teacher with that kind of rhetoric on national radio and every station that he can call. And I intend to deal with that this evening, once and for all. He's a danger to our society and the race relations, especially in Trinidad and Tobago. And to know that in the middle of Pan Month, you could be speaking so disparagingly about the Pan Man and the instrument, I think you deserve a dedication of a portion of our program this evening. So we try to get to that. But the important part first is you have a video to show. And for those of you listening, welcome. Join us on YouTube or Facebook if you want to be interactive.
Yes, so we'll start with this short video which explains what food insecurity means. There are many reasons why people may be food insecure, but just so that we can outline and get clear what we're discussing this evening, let's go to that video. What is food insecurity?
1 minute and 38 seconds, and we'll be back.
2 billion people in the world are food insecure. Food insecurity is not knowing if you'll have enough food to eat today, tomorrow, or if you're a farmer, when food from your harvest runs out. The most extreme form of food insecurity is famine. If I'm food secure, I always have enough calories and the right kinds of food to lead a healthy and active life. Floods and drought make farmers vulnerable to losing their source of food or income overnight. Conflict forces people to flee their homes and reduces the amount of food farmers can grow. International trade rules can hurt local farmers and entrepreneurs by putting them out of business and cutting jobs. Most poor farmers don't own the land they farm and risk losing it. When governments don't invest enough in local agriculture, countries produce less food and depend more on imported food. The poor spend up to 80% of their earnings on food, so any rise in food prices means they have to cut back on the number of meals they eat. If you grow up without enough food, your body is weaker and you'll find it harder to escape poverty. Your kids are likely to grow up hungry too. But the world produces more than enough food to feed everyone. The challenge is to make sure everyone can access it.
So that is what food insecurity means. Essentially, for Joe Blow, the average Joe, it means not knowing if you have enough food on your table. And if you don't have enough food on your table to provide for yourself and your family, you are obviously lacking in nutrition and other basic amenities. Because food is a human right? You must eat to survive. So if you don't have enough food, that is going to impact on your physical health and your mental health. And in terms of the physical health, I mean, I think it may be a cause of some of the major health issues that we have in Trinidad and Tobago, the NCDs, the diabetes, the hypertension, because people are not eating proper, nutritious food.
And it will discourage people from wanting to be sportsmen and women because they exert yourself and then go home and don't have the proper nourishment
Mm-hmm.
to replace that lost
Yes.
it could discourage people too, and the price of sporting goods, sporting equipment in Trinidad and Tobago. That's another story. It's how do we encourage people to get involved in sport? If I look for a track pants the other day, a track pants in one of these establishments, $160, $180 for a pair of track pants. That's crazy. Where do we get cheaper ones of good quality? How do poor people access that? Because when a parent has to weigh between buying a bottle of honey and buying a tire, they'll buy the tire, or because it's almost the same price. You know what I mean? Or buying food, buying a pair of togs, buying a pair of track pants, and going to the grocery is a big bill. So understand the mental torture and stress that families were under, the ones who
have to make these choices, these decisions,
yes, these decisions,
whether to pay the rent or to go to the grocery, whether to buy the sporting equipment for your child or to put food on the table, whether to fix the car that takes everybody to work and school or to buy food. These are choices that people make every day, and they're difficult choices. And as we will hopefully show you this evening, it's one that can lead to severe, bouts of anxiety, because if you are undernourished, you're not going to feel well, and depression, because if you're undernourished, you're not going to feel well. You're not going to want to get up and get.
Right. So remember, we want to get your calls in early. So let's go to this break quick. And what you like to pay attention to in this break, there are two things in particular, two messages. One from the UNODC and the Counter Trafficking Unit inviting you to a meeting, and you'll hear about that in the break. And also the NLCB has a tax a Vax and Win campaign
promotion. But
right?
We are also promoting the responsible gaming campaign during the breaks this evening. And when a little later on in the show, we'll tell you about the Vax and Win promotion by the NLCB.
Yes, so they offering cash incentives for you to take the vaccine, and that's a good thing, right? So let's go to this break, and we'll be back quickly.
This is reality radio at its best. I on Dependency on I-95.5 FM.
Actually, I've survived 2 cancers. The first one was a cervical cancer in 1990, and the second was a colon in 2011.
Don't miss episode 4 of Ion Health, focusing on cancers in women, this Sunday from 8:30 p.m. on TV6 and from 8:45 p.m. on the Ion Dependency YouTube channel. The UNODC Track for Tip project, in collaboration with the Counter Trafficking Unit, will host an open forum on Microsoft Teams, collaborating to combat human trafficking, on Tuesday, 24 August, from 4 to 6 p.m. The forum will explore the role that businesses, manufacturers, retailers, and self-employed persons can play in the fight against human trafficking. Contact the CTU at 627-1339 or email countertraffickingunit@gmail.com to receive a link to the meeting.
Some of us like to play games of chance, but remember, gaming should be fun, so don't get carried away. Play for a prize, but don't pay the price. Play for fun, but never for keeps. Play smart, but never play all. Winning isn't everything. If you or someone you know needs help, call our gambling addiction hotlines. Rebirth House 24-hour hotline 466-3146 or Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women 648-5401. An initiative of NLCB and I on Dependency.
To I on Dependency with Garth and Natasha on I-95.5 FM, Trinidad and Tobago. Don't be a fool and be a mule.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Iron Dependency. We are talking about food insecurity and mental health this evening. Not often discussed topic, and we want to hear from you. So we want to share our first comment from Facebook from Sankofa. Thank you very much for contributing. And she or he says, I find it a fulfilling experience when I plant to be able to share out to neighbors and friends. One doesn't have to make a big drama of it, but just share so that those in serious need don't have to feel embarrassed. Now imagine if neighbors, families, friends plant different crops so they can exchange among themselves. This can help reduce food bills. And this is two very important points here. Well, three. One is how many of us have a home garden? Even for basic things like tomatoes, your little herbs, shadow benny, etc., your okra, your pak choy. This can really assist in sustaining yourself and your family and your home. And as Sakofa says, share amongst your neighbors and your friends. The second point is the stigma associated with the handouts. That the government through NAMDEVCO has provided some food packages that have been distributed to people. And when you see, and other NGOs would collect food items and distribute them. And when you see the pictures and the videos on Facebook, people are cackling and laughing at people lining up for food. But that's not how it should be, because people who line up for food because they're in need. You would not, and I don't get the stigma that is attached to receiving or accessing food if it's being made available to you. There should be no shame in accepting food if you are in need and if you're food insecure. There's no shame in that. And the third point is the cooperation, the exchanging goods among friends and family and neighbors. That when I was growing up, we used to have cooperatives where people would pool their money and they will make one big trip to the grocery to feed all of the persons who had contributed to that fund, and they would share it around. I don't know if that still happens, but that is an excellent way as well to save money and to share and live in a community setting, so that everybody on your street and your community at least can be fed for a week or 2 weeks. Because as Garth was mentioning, as we were discussing this last week, if you're being paid weekly on a weekly basis, you're going to have to go to the grocery every week. Not everybody is paid a monthly salary. Or if you're being paid fortnightly, you're going to have to go to the grocery every fortnight. And if you have to consider paying rent, paying transport, paying for school-related items, paying for food is probably the last thing on your list. Because if you have nowhere to live, if you have no means of accessing education and other services, food is probably going to be low on your priority list. So, and I want to tell a little story without revealing too much about the stigma. There was NAMDEVCO, as I mentioned, had been distributing food packages to people, and there was an opportunity for an athlete and his or her family to receive the package, and I understood that there was some concern on the athlete's behalf and the family's behalf in terms of accepting and going on camera to say, I received this food basket from NAMDEVCO, because of the stigma associated with it. They didn't want to feel like if they were in need, which to me is not right. They shouldn't feel like that, because if you are a family in need and you're being provided with nutritious food, fresh, nutritious vegetables and food from NAMDEVCO, I would think you'd be happy and glad that you as a family can provide nutritious food, not just for, your daily life, but for a young athlete who needs that extra nutrition, that extra boost in order to perform the way he or she needs to.
But I understand too the shame they're talking about. I mean, you have to understand that some people just cannot, and you know, Natasha. I mean, we have helped real people, and we don't put it on camera because it's something that I feel if you're doing from the heart, you really don't need to do that, right? But then there are some people as well who have that shame. They just look at me, you know, I have to depend on handouts to survive. There are people who would have that problem and it would affect them. So you have to understand their you know, anxiety about doing that.
Yeah.
So I could see on you know, from there, food is not a PR thing. It should not be.
It shouldn't be.
Right.
Like
but folks, we want to take your calls early. So after this short video, 3 minutes, on the impact of food insecurity on the mind. Natasha?
Yeah, this is a news clip, and it's a news anchor talking with a psychologist about what we were just discussing in terms of how parents especially cope with food insecurity and how do they talk about that with their children.
Right, and so after this, we'll start taking some of your calls.
Yep.
And long time we haven't spoken to you as well, so we have an opportunity to do so today to tell us your experience. All right, so we'll be back.
Right now, the Food Bank of the Rockies says they are distributing 50% more food every week than they were before the pandemic. And joining me now is Dr. Cheryl Ziegler. She's a psychologist, our 9 News parenting expert. Dr. Ziegler, thanks for being with us. And this week, we have talked about the physical toll that prolonged hunger can take on the body, but there are psychological effects as well.
There are, Kim, and I'm glad we're talking about this because I think, you know, people generally think about maybe the physical toll, but there's a huge stress and mental health toll when there's food insecurity in a household. So that starts with the parents. They have these increased stressors of having sometimes to choose between feeding their child, having housing, maybe getting transportation. And then those stressors trickle down to their attachment with their child. It trickles down to behavioral issues in children and academic performance. We see that children who have food insecurities generally have issues at school with aggression, paying attention, and even increased prevalence of ADD.
And when we talk about facing food insecurity for children, those are lasting mental health effects too, when you talk about concentration and all the other things academically, but also their development.
Absolutely. When we really look at the overall impact of food insecurity on children, we look at the different categories. We look at the attachment between parent and child. We look at their cognitive development, their social development, emotional, and also physical. So there really is a lot in terms of the cognitive development piece. That's the part where we do get very concerned about how the brain develops during the critical times of development. If they are having poor nutrition, or when they do get the food that they have that comes in consistently or maybe isn't of high quality, it does have lasting impacts on how children do in terms of their mental health. And we see increases specifically in depression and anxiety.
And you think about the parents too, because when you have stress, it's hard to hide it from your children. But for parents that are facing food insecurity, they do need to talk about this with their kids too, maybe, and so they know mom and dad aren't just stressed. What should they do?
Yeah, I think, you know, this is a really difficult conversation, but I think it's an opportunity to model for their children that during these times they need help. They usually will need help with maybe childcare so that maybe they can go and, you know, work another shift or get a second job. They need the child to have the understanding of, you know, maybe they need to stay at an after school program because they're not able to go and get them there. So I think that, you know, sometimes we want to avoid difficult conversations with children, but in this case, I think it's important to, you know, let them have a sense that not feel scared that they're not going to get food, but that it's, you know, mom and dad have to work extra hard to be able to get these things for you. And so everybody has to do their role. It just kind of gives the child a little sense of what's happening and what they can do to be helpful. What they can do to be helpful is to, you know, sort of be agreeable to the after school program or, you know, childcare by somebody else.
Yeah. And we hear those stories sometimes years down the road about how mom and dad left such a great impact during these difficult times too. So it's part about the discussion about it and not keeping it a secret. And we hope we can help some families. So thank you, Dr. Ziegler. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, you too.
Right. So there you go.
Yeah, very important that that families have to have a conversation about this. I mean, there's so many other things to consider, but when it comes to food, something that is basic that you assume, everybody assumes, especially children would assume that your parents will give you enough to eat, and whatever they give you, you're grateful for. But if the parents themselves are anxious or stressed about their own ability to provide food, that can permeate, again, as was mentioned, to the children with difficulty in their social settings, in school, etc.
Let's go to the line. 622-3937. 622-3937. Good evening.
Good evening, Garth. Good evening, Natasha.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Well, I come from a very poor family. My mother had 10 children. And, we grew up learning that whatever they provide for us, we will eat it. That's how we grew up. And I grew up my children like that. And, when it is, at least you may have a small house or a small space, but you make them to know you are providing for them. And, little things we can do if we don't have a big yard or place to plant, like, when we buy things from the market, all the peelings and all the remaining from that we don't cook, we put it in a compost. And we could start planting small things, simple, like, when you're peeling the arrows and the dashing, the head of it, you can stick it in that compost, and when it grows up, and you can start small things from there.
Right.
Simple as the scythe and the shadow benny,
Yes.
the root, the bottom of it, you can plant it even though in containers. And one of the things that I'm very disturbed about, when you see a organization or the government giving out some hampers or help out a situation, it disturbs me when I see they publish the person and giving them it, because the way I grew up and my book teach me, when it is I give you or Natasha or anybody something with my right hand, don't let my left hand knows about it.
Right.
Thank you.
Talk about the situation so other people can get help. But don't say, I give Natasha this, I give. No. You can talk about situation in an organization. If people need help, you can give them a donation, help in whatever way, or ask whatever they need. And if you can make parcels, like things like clothes, like books, if everybody may not want the same thing. And the next thing to Garth and Natasha, it have some people, they have a little bit of money, but they're studying themselves and they're not looking about the children. They can go down the road and they can get a bag of food. Right, it's fine, yes, they get it, yes. But we as individuals, we must start making sacrifices, because especially in this time of crisis, we cannot study the fantasy too much. We have to study the health and our well-being of our family. Thank you very much.
All right, caller. Thanks a lot. Thank you. 622-3937. Good evening.
Good evening, Garth and Natasha.
Good evening, ma'am.
I love this topic. Good people. Let me tell you, remember in the days before money came into being, there was a barter. Like, I will plant rice and you plant potatoes, and I will exchange my rice for your potatoes and so on.
Yes.
Right? And then money came, we got sophisticated. Now, what we do as a family, you do bulk buying. We buy in bulk and we distribute it among ourselves, so we come off the savings. And Natasha mentioned that in growing up, she knew about that. We have to go back to the old time days and do that. Buy in bulk. And I always wonder about the trade union movement, credit unions and so. They can do bulk buying for their membership. They have a large membership. Instead of you want to march up and down and all of that, sit down and come up with creative ideas how you can pass on savings to your membership. Buying in bulk. We used to have cooperatives like supermarkets and so. Like that seems to have disappeared. And that is where the average, the small man average family will be able to save when we buy and pool our resources together and share and distribute among ourselves. We have to go back to that. And Natasha, you were on to something good there. We have to go back to that. That's what we do as a family. You buy in bulk and we distribute rice, bale of toilet paper, all these different things. We buy in bulk and distribute. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
622-3937, 622-3937. Good evening. Hello? Hello?
Good evening.
Yes, good night.
Yes, could you speak up, please,
Garth and
thanks?
Natasha, and blessings upon your family.
Okay, you can speak up a bit, though?
My contribution is the aspect of the grocery prices raising up. You go to seek and ticket rate going up, same item. And most of it is because this reason happens because they are based on their last prices. So that means if they get an item 2 weeks ago and the next set shipment or whatever they put it come in and it's $5 or $10 more, the prices are going to change on the shelf based on the new prices. Right?
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why the prices keeps going up in that kind of way. The next thing, as the woman said, we need to really try to go back to some of these family things of the past. And I think that would help each one of us look after each other. Amen.
Could you repeat that, please?
I said we need to go and review some of the things in the past where we used to share among each other and help each other.
Okay.
That's what we say it takes a village to raise the children.
Yes.
Yes, we have to go back and operate in synergies, the strength within our communities.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Because, you know...
Yeah, and I think COVID... Oh, we have another call?
622-3937. What do you say, caller?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
You know, the whole world is hungry, right? I mean, it's not only us, it's all over. It's a problem that, you know, people just don't have no love. Look at Africa. America spent $750 billion on the military. That could feed Africa. They could see about Africa. But, I mean, you know, this is what is going on, and we have to accept it. No love. But I want to say something about this country. The government is doing enough. We need to stop demonizing them for everything, The business community could step up and do a little more. Everything will be all right. You understand? Because, I mean, I work government and I hold a salary. And then as soon as these people in the KFC and the restaurant send home, no pay. What about all the millions you hear profit that all these companies making?
Thank you.
Why? No love.
I thank you very much, caller. Thanks a
But what
lot.
about
Because
the people who were clamoring for KFC the day when they opened? Everybody rushed to KFC to buy fried chicken.
say fast food now. Don't get
Sorry,
no
fast
extra,
food, empty calories, waste food. That's not nutritious food.
Right, but the caller made a good point. I've always said it too. We have the Civilian Conservation Corps, we have the MILAD, and we have other programs run by government. And it seems as though everybody wants government to run everything. But yet your institutions declare insane profits like in hundreds of millions of dollars. And yet, if all of them come together and say, okay, every year or every 6 months, we'll donate $50,000 to CCC or $1 million to CCC, 500 million, you take 1 million from that, wouldn't kill you. And we could expand these programs. You understand what I'm saying? And as the caller said, corporate Trinidad and Tobago and other institutions, why is everybody coming on board? Why? This is the problem I continue to see existing.
Because businesses operate for profit, God.
I know, but we are a small country, and maybe we could start by looking out for each other. Because, as I said, when they raise their prices, as you point out, the weekly person who's not getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you heard Mr. Wilson and they talk about the connection between crime and this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you all something. There are young people, there are young men in this country. There is nothing more powerful than a mother sending an indirect message to someone, a son of that like mine. So that son wake up one morning and see his little brother and sister sucking their finger in the living room, scratching their head, waiting for mommy to whip up something for breakfast, and mommy quarreling with child father on the phone or daddy on the phone or in the bedroom for money and no money. And and she crying and they hungry, and when he going on bring bread when they come in the bucket. I have no money, but don't bring bread now. Well, you telling them indirectly. I'm not condoling it, Natasha, but understand the connection. Understand the connection. Some of them will be glad to know. They will be happy to go and rob somebody just so they could go in the grocery to carry home. And that's how some of it happens. We tend not to look at it that way because we're not on the ground. But I'm saying this from experience. 622-3937. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Garth and Natasha, I forgot to tell you all about this. You know, somebody spoke about sacrifices. The business people, the supermarkets and so on. When they declare their profits, are they prepared to make any sacrifices? So instead of, okay, last year you made a profit of 20 or 50%. Can you not reduce your profit margin a little and pass on some of the savings to your loyal and dedicated customers? What about if everybody make a little sacrifice so when we come out of this situation, you know, because these people have been loyal to you over the years. Don't you want to pass back some of those savings and benefits from your profit margin on to your customers? What about that? What about making sacrifices? Who's we can remember hearing the Prime Minister talk about that? All of us can make a sacrifice in our own little way as a nation, and boy, would we benefit and would be one happy nation. Why everybody must want to declare super profits and not pass on anything anywhere, make any kind of sacrifice? That is my pet peeve too, along with these big unions who could buy in bulk and pass on to the membership. If we all come together, it's all hands on deck now. With this COVID has shown us that.
Thank you very
guys.
much, sister. 622-3937. And we could go to you want to go to a break quickly and come back with the other message?
Yes.
And then, as I said, folks, we have Natasha have some information to share from the Consumer Affairs Division that you may find interesting, because I look at a block of cheese. Now, the smallest block of cheese was available for $9, $10 for it. Now it's going up to $15. That's the smallest block, $17. Check it out. And they're hinting that could go up again. But Natasha has an explanation where she'll show you how the ministry, the division broke it down and explain how these supermarkets and groceries come up with their prices, right? So we remember you can join us on YouTube or Facebook or on I95.5. If you're there, welcome. We'll be back.
You're listening to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Reality radio at its best.
Some of us like to play games of chance, but remember, gaming should be fun, so don't get carried away. Play for a prize, but don't pay the price. Play for fun, but never for keeps. Play smart, but never play all. Winning isn't everything. If you or someone you know needs help, call our gambling addiction hotlines. Rebirth House 24-hour hotline 466-3146 or Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women 648-5401. An initiative of NLCB and Eye on Dependency.
The UNODC Truck for Tip project, in collaboration with the Counter-Trafficking Unit, will host an open forum on Microsoft Teams, collaborating to combat human trafficking on Tuesday, 24 August, from 4 to 6 p.m. The forum will explore the role that businesses, manufacturers, retailers, and self-employed persons can play in the fight against human trafficking. Contact the CTU at 627-1339 or email countertraffickingunit@gmail.com to receive a link to the meeting.
Actually, I survived 2 cancers. The first one was a cervical cancer in 1990, and the second was a colon in 2011.
Don't miss episode 4 of Eye on Health, focusing on cancers in women, this Sunday from 8:30 p.m. on TV6 and from 8:45 p.m. on the Ion Dependency YouTube channel.
Hello, my name is Raquel, a Trini inmate at HMP Drake Hall, Staffordshire, England, and you're listening to Ion Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Please, people, don't traffic drugs. The money is all that nice. It's not worth it.
Thank you for staying with us. You're listening to Our Dependency and Natasha. Coming up next.
Yes, we have another video to share. This is another news item focusing on the number of families. Again, it's US based, but it's amazing to know how many families in the United States, which is the wealthiest country on this planet, are facing in food insecurity. So if Americans are facing this, how many of us here in little Trinidad and Tobago are facing it?
I will continue your calls after this.
More than 12 million Americans were unemployed in September. That doesn't count the millions of workers who had their hours reduced or faced a pay cut because of the pandemic.
For many people, it meant it was difficult to make ends meet. Now, researchers are looking at how COVID-19 stressors, including food insecurity, are affecting families.
David Sears has details.
I remember you guys from last time. How are you doing?
As soon as the sun comes up, cars form a double line in this church parking lot. It's Free Food Distribution Day in Orlando, where COVID has devastated the tourism industry.
If you spend your money on food right now, you won't have gas, you won't have rent.
The whole time it's been a struggle.
Before the pandemic, the nonprofit One Heart for Women and Children served 3,000 people a month. But right now,
we're helping over 20,000 people with resources, mainly with food.
Georgetown University developmental psychologist Anna Johnson and her colleagues are examining how the pandemic is affecting low-income families and teachers. They found widespread food insecurity, which was linked to worse mental health.
Relatively high rates of depression, and for parents, the depression and food insecurity associated with each other. So high rates of depression went along with high rates of food insecurity.
The parents, students, and teachers were part of an ongoing study of low-income children in Tulsa, Oklahoma. When the pandemic struck, the children were in first grade. 46% of the parents reported losing their job or having work hours reduced. 59% reported a decrease in household income, and 49% said they were worried their food would run out. In many communities, other safety nets like Meals to Go are helping families get by.
You just have to pray for the best and go day by day.
47% of parents surveyed also reported their child had increased emotional or behavioral problems since the pandemic began. David Sears, KSAT 12 News.
So again, we hearing of the depression, the anxiety, especially for children. And I know that there are many children who over this past year and a half have previously accessed the school feeding program. Where were they getting their meals in this time when they were not going to school? How are families faring? Those who have lost their jobs or reduced work hours, how are they faring? How are they coping with life and food? Because that again, food is an essential to life, right? Food and water.
And as we food, there are a number of people left their homes, went on the block because they're hungry. They have to hustle because they can't get food at home. How could they volunteer to do something? Either working for a shopkeeper, the shopkeeper cannot hire them, then the guy at the side of the shop will hire them because they want to make a little $20 so they could buy a tin of Vienna sausage and a loaf of bread or a block of cheese, a piece of cheese to carry back home. You know, it's a domino effect, folks. And 622-3937, we could take your calls again. 622-39. If you have the experience on what I saw a security guard on TV on the news crying because he worked for 3 months and have not gotten any salary, and he has 3 children to take care of. How I mean, understand it, folks. Understand the domino effect it can cause. And then as soon as I get the money now, payday coming up, but there's a bittersweet feeling because from the time I get the salary, what you have to do with it.
Yep.
You have to split that between the rent, the supermarket, the little debts you might owe, and take care of family at the same time.
Yeah.
It causes people to stray, So
Are we really our brother's keeper in this regard? Because I know we talk about mental health issues and how the stigma associated with them. We tell people, just you can get over it, just don't study it. But when you have hungry belly, according to Annette on Facebook, hungry belly, you have no conscience, she says.
And that's true.
So,
and a hungry man is a hungry man. We've heard that
there you
saying
go.
too.
Yeah.
It's really, so we're trying to prevent that. How are you dealing with it in your neck? How are you managing? You heard about people give tips about planting your own backyard garden.
Yeah.
Try that. You could actually get some seeds, plant it, the ends of chive and celery and all these. You cut it, just stick it in the ground. 622-3937. Good evening.
We're hardly hearing you, sir.
Okay, good evening.
Yes, sir.
I'm listening to people speaking about, groceries and the this and the high price. One of my advices to people, and I do it, I do already go to grocery. I buy from small man. Why you observe people, they go in the grocery, send out all the big ones. And when it's food done, going by the small shop, the trust, they didn't buy things. You have to buy where you could get help. I buy things, the small shop. If I want a credit, I will get credit. If I want something, I will get it. Because the shop and them have everything almost like the grocery now. But like people just like to have a little show, they go by the grocery, they buy. You can't get a sweetie for costing the grocery, you have no money.
Yes.
You have to buy in the small shop and trust the small shop. When you're owning the small shop, pay your money. So that when you don't have, you can still get something from the shop man. And this is what I just do. I don't go and go see it.
That's
a very good point.
That's an excellent point. And thank you for that, because that's where we shop long ago. That's where our parents sent us long ago. My mother didn't send me by Masio or other
people name.
Yeah, sorry.
Grocery.
My mother didn't send me by. They sent me by Mr. Johnson shop, and you used to get all the goods by Mr. Johnson shop. So maybe we could
But the small retailers usually, if they operate in a community, they are closer to you and more accessible, and their prices are likely to be much lower than the grocery prices as well. Huh?
But I'm noticing that people using the pandemic now to give you this prepared line, boy, things going up,
Yeah. And how much do we even? I mean, a lot of people. The convenience of the grocery is the age that we live in. In the grocery, you can get everything, right? From your perishable items, your vegetables, your fresh fruit and vegetables, your staples. You could get everything, alcohol, everything, pharmaceutical, toiletries, everything. It's the convenience that you're paying for, really, when you shop in the grocery.
622-3937.
But there are people who never went in a market.
Could you ask Shortman to put up the thing from Consume?
Yes. So start with S, and let me explain what this is that you will be seeing shortly. So I went to the Facebook page of the Consumer Affairs Division to find out what they have been doing to educate the public about food prices, because we know they're going up, and they have been doing some very good work. They're doing a survey and comparing the prices of certain basic items across the board at different groceries, and understand that this is the easiest way for them to do this. They can't go to every small parlor. They're looking at groceries. So, but my concern about this how this survey is presented, it is in an Excel spreadsheet, which the average consumer is not going to go to your website to download this spreadsheet and look at every tab to see which grocery they should buy certain items in. this is not the ideal communications mood to present this information. That was my concern, but the information is very helpful. This first one that you're looking at is for Central Trinidad. So they have a list of items. It's about this is just part of the list. I think it's over 100 items, and they compare. You're showing the item, the brand, the size, or the weight of the item, and you compare the price at the supermarkets, the major supermarkets in the central area. So you have a low-cost supermarket, value supermarket, Price Club, Extra Foods, Cash and Carry, and Toasty. And we have this, and you could go through the rest and up to W Shortman. So they are presented for Central, East, North, South, and West. Again, very good information if you are so inclined to go this deep into where you can get the cheapest whole chicken, pigtail, saltfish. I mean, if you are so inclined to do that, you can. But again, my point is that this is not how you present information like this to the public. It's not very user friendly, as Garth said. It's just not. It's very useful information, but it's not user friendly. So if the Consumer Affairs Division wants to really maximize on the work that you're doing, some very important work, good work. These surveys this is important information that consumers need to have.
So it actually shows you where you can
get certain items the cheapest.
Okay.
And from this one, from the central, you can see that at a glance. Let's look at saltfish. The cheapest place to buy saltfish in Central Trinidad is at local supermarket.
And local supermarket is located Southern Main Road.
Right.
Right.
The cheapest place to buy chicken wings, well, we only have one there, chicken thighs, would be Extra Foods. Now, again, this is very good information.
And chicken thighs at Extra Foods is $13.99.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so go to the next one, Shortman, to T, which is East Trinidad. And I only took the top half of the Excel spreadsheet because I wanted you to see the supermarkets at the top. And again, if the person who compiled this was familiar with Excel, there's a way that you can keep the row at the top static and you can scroll through the list at the bottom. But anyway, they didn't have it in that format. So this is East Trinidad. So they have all of the major outlets in East Trinidad: Massey Source, St. Augustine, True Value, Val Park, Cost Cutters, Disco Mart, West Bees, True Value, Trinity, Extra Foods. And it details, like I said, it's almost 100 items, I think, on this list. And you can find this on the website of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. If you go to the Consumer Affairs Division page on Facebook, it will take you to the website and you will click on this link and get this Excel spreadsheet with several tabs. Each tab reflects a different area. So this is the East tab. Again, comprehensive information. The cheapest place to buy, for example, okay, let's look at cooking margarine, Golden Ray, right? This is something that everybody uses. The cheapest place to buy Golden Ray in East Trinidad is Cost Cutters. Did you know that? $8.95 for 227 grams of Golden Ray. Did you know that? And I am wondering, go to the next one, Shortman, which is North Trinidad. And I wonder how many people are aware that this information is out there so that they can make informed choices as consumers. I know you always hear that you should shop around, but I think when people go into the grocery, they don't want to have to, again, it's the convenience. You don't want to have to shop around. You just want to go to the place that is closest to you, that is most convenient to you, that probably you can access easier, and do your shopping there. But
then a family now, or two or three neighbors could come together,
yes,
and head to these places where they
yes,
have these prices reasonable,
but
and buy
somebody
in
needs to
bulk.
go through this Excel spreadsheet and see, well, this place have these goods cheaper, and do the maths. I mean, it sounds very complicated, and it will require some doing. But I mean, if you really want to save money and get the items that you need at the lowest price, this unfortunately is what you will have to do. So for this slide, you see this is North Trinidad, so they have all of the major outlets here: Back to Basics, Pelax, Food Giant, etc. And saltfish with bone is cheapest at Jumbo Foods in Barataria. Did you know that? Pork stew is cheapest in Back to Basics.
Did you know that?
And then the prices vary. I mean, they're similar, but they vary. To me, the variance is quite stark, because you can pay $18.95 for pork stew and $21.75 in Food Giant. That's a big difference to me. And again, any consumer activists who are listening could explain what that price variance means, or why it would be that expensive in one place and less expensive in another. I don't know why that is, but go to the next one, Shortman. South Trinidad. Let's see what South Trinidad price is looking like.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Independency, and Natasha is taking you through a spreadsheet provided by the Consumer Affairs Division that you can access if you Google it, and it's telling you how the prices where you can access different goods at the cheaper, at different costs, and you just have to be aware of these prices.
So this is South Trinidad. So you have there's a lot of variety here, right? So you see they have Gasparillo, San Fernando, Debe, Siparia, Faizabad, Point Fortin, Rio Claro. So based on your area, I mean, I don't think if you're in Gasparillo, you're going to go to Debe to shop. But this is giving you a sense of how much things cost in your area. So let's look at powdered milk, dairy powdered milk, 800 grams. Is cheapest where? In Point Fortin, $52.99? No. It's, if you want to go through all of this information on your own, please feel free. But it is, like I said, it's comprehensive, not presented in a user-friendly format, unfortunately, but it might be useful to you to go through it for the items that you buy on a regular basis, so that you can know and monitor. And this survey, I understand, is done on a monthly basis. So you can keep checking with the Consumer Affairs Division to find out how prices have risen in the past month or fallen, and where you can get them the cheapest. Go to the final one, which is West Trinidad, Shortman.
And folks, again, you can access this information yourself. If you are that, the type of person who will actually go into a supermarket with a calculator
and check prices,
and check prices as
or
you
with
pick
a
up-
list,
with
because
a
that's
list.
another thing. This is something I learned from my mother. When you go in supermarkets, especially, it is very tempting once you have money in your pocket to pick up what you see and what attracts your eye, because this is the science of shopping these days. Supermarkets place certain items on certain shelves to directly in your eyesight to make you attracted to it, and all of the bells and whistles and all of the fancy things, the lights, everything is designed to make you spend your money. So how many people actually go to the grocery with a list and know how much you're going to spend?
Look at the list for the West in Diego Martin, right? Look at the Natasha, you can take us through this one.
Yes, so this is West. This is Diego Martin and St. James, right? So there are a few options. We only have 4 options here, right? So again, if we look at chicken drumstick chilled, look at the price, the difference. $19.95 in Westby's, $22.64 in Massey, and $20.91 in True Value. Look at that disparity. And people who probably are accustomed shopping in Massey would maybe not, they wouldn't think twice about this if they knew that they could get it for, $2 or $3 cheaper in Westby's. Would you be willing to make that trek to Westby's to buy that drumsticks if you really needed it?
No, I hope we're not getting set up here too that they give the consumer affairs one price, and then when you go in and go buy them,
I think they actually go to the supermarket and get the price, and they check the price.
So they will go around for themselves.
Yes.
From fridge to fridge and freezer to freezer and check the prices.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, which is why they do it monthly so that they could keep up to date with the prices. But I mean, the disparity in prices, again, I don't know if there's anybody who could explain why something would cost $16.95, chicken breast would cost $16.95 in Westby's, but $19.84 in Massey. What accounts for that?
No, sure, man. Go to X one time. I want you all to see something here.
Yes.
We have a picture of some grapes, right? Look at the prices of these grapes.
Now, guys have an expensive taste, because grapes is not something that we would advise people to buy on a weekly basis. I mean, it's not grown here. These are imported goods, and again, this is the other dichotomy that we have to face. A lot of our goods on our shelves are imported, And I don't even know if people read labels anymore, but God, go ahead with the grapes.
No, but I'm just looking at the price of these little.
Them green grapes looking very disgusting, and the black grapes looking small and marasmy.
Right. No, what I'm saying is that let's look dollar for dollar. My sister sent me some pictures of some coupons, and I keep forgetting. Let's look at dollar for dollar. In Canada, you can't eat $17 worth of grapes. You can't. You could feed a block with $17 almost with grapes, but there are alternatives. There are local alternatives to grapes, right?
Yes.
Now, look at go to
Wait,
why.
Before you go to the next one, short man, let's stick on this for a second, because why are the green grapes more expensive? Because it's more. It's weighs more, right? It's 0.325 kilograms. It's physically more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably why it's more expensive. So in terms of looking at the total price, but are you considering how much you're getting for this price? So that the price of green grapes is $71 per kilo. Factor that into the weight of what they have packaged for you, and that gives you the price of $23.08. So it's 71 by 0.325. That gives you $23.08. Is that $23.08 that you're spending on those grapes? Is it worth it? How long will that last? You have to weigh the pros and cons of purchasing things. Don't just look at the price alone. Look at how much you're getting for the price, and what kind of nutritional value, and how long will that nutritional value last you and your family, or whoever you're buying it for.
Look at the price of well, I don't buy this raspberries and blackberries. This is for,
again,
these are rich people.
Foods. Yes.
Yeah. These are people who have caviar on the table as well. Go to that one. Go to why raspberries and blackberries. Look at the price of that in the supermarket. You're talking about $50.
No, again, these are imported,
right? But
you don't see, and it's directly from the packager, the manufacturer. So you
look
don't
at that,
see
$71 for that, no.
The weight of this is 6 ounces, Okay. So directly from, this is coming directly from Driscoll's. So there's no wiggle room in terms of how supermarkets will determine how much they will sell this for. 6 ounces of raspberries for $71.
$71.
How, somebody says, Kathy, I say you could cook a meal for that price.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Look, go to the cheese, short man. Go to the cheese.
And finally,
look at the cheese. Look at this cheese here.
One of these staples.
Right, one that almost every household you could pass and say, give me a piece of cheese, I get a piece of cheese. But look where cheese reached to. This block here was once $11. Right? Now it's up to $15. Now, Natasha, again, can you explain to the listening public the difference? It's 250 kgs
0.250 kilograms, but the price per kilo of this cheese is $60.50. If that price doesn't blow your mind, the 1513 is not the real. Well,
Now,
I
the
mean,
$60 what the supermarket pay for it
yes,
per kilogram.
per kilo, yes. And they have cut it up into a 0.250 kilograms, and this is the cost. 6050 by 0.25 is 1513.
Right. And as Sankofa said, if we look at local products, then
And this is imported. This is New Zealand rennet cheddar cheese.
Right.
So it's imported again. Which is why it is 60.50 per kilo.
Folks, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency right here on I-95.5 FM, live on the Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel. Remember, a part of this program will be dedicated to a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago who I consider to be a clear and present danger to our peace and stability. That's a guy who calls the radio program or most radio programs around the country and spews his racial and divisive venom. And I think I will have to, set aside something here this evening and stand up for once for good social response to him and what I think he should consider doing all for the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago, because I don't think he understands the damage he's doing to our country, because social media now affords people, and the way radio stations are connected, Natasha will tell you, whatever country we go in, there's a lady called now with a little device called, what's her name again? Is Alexia?
Alexa?
Alexa. All you have to do is tell Alexa, could you find I-95.5 FM Trinidad and Tobago? Boom, Alexa, find I-95 for you. And you people outside of the country now can hear you in your own country. So nothing stays here any longer. And when you speak about your country in that manner, people outside hear you. And I think it's time I throw some cold water on that. So I have some pictures to show Mr. Pinal this evening from Calian and some of the things that we've done for Trinidad and Tobago. And I ask you to show us the same. Otherwise, stop dividing this nation. But this Calian, this affair with, that you love affair that you had to call Dylan Tony in the morning and cry and talk about Darian and John Dylan cut you off. And because of a calypso that I sang that you inspired. You inspired it. You and the some of the people of like mind who wants nothing more to see but a race war start in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm going to deal with that all once and for all this evening. So,
but before we do that, let's just Shortman put up the Vax and Win graphic so I can talk people through this. The NLCB has a Vax and Win promotion. You can enter if you meet all of the following criteria. 1, that you're a permanent resident of Trinidad and Tobago, which means that you make your primary home and legal residence in Trinidad and Tobago. 2, that you're 18 years and over. And 3, that you've received 1 dose of the WHO-approved double-dose COVID-19 vaccine and 1 dose of the approved single-dose COVID-19 vaccines during the promotion period, which is 18 August to September 14, 2021. And you must possess a valid TT vaccination card. How do you enter? To participate in the promotion and be entered in the drawings, an eligible Trinidad and Tobago permanent resident must complete the online entry form and provide all required entry information, acknowledgements, and consents. Entry must be completed through www.nlcbgames.com, which can be accessed via the NLCB app, available in the App Store and Google Play Store. So, Vax and Win with NLCB. There will be 100 weekly winners, $5,000 each, and a grand prize of $50,000. You can register now at nlcbgames.com or download the NLCB app.
Right, folks. So you heard that, and we share that information again before we go. But you can Vax and Win, and you can send in and just follow the instructions as I said, and you could win a $5,000 easy. So,
And we hope you don't spend it all in the grocery.
oh, yeah, right, folks. So we're gonna take a break, and when we return again, I wanna we're gonna take your calls, but I wanna deal with this issue here. Next Sunday, please God, we're going to be having an independence special for you, something that you will really love. But I want to take Mr. Pinal this evening
To school.
to school. Yes. You see, we don't normally do this on our independency, folks, but I think this one is very important because I think I've had enough of him, and I'm going to play something. I hope you're going to hear it because I have it on my phone that I listen on a particular radio station that I try to listen to on an evening of things he had to say about Piccadilly Street and the pan. And again, to the world, he said it. What they say in Trinidad and Tobago, don't stay in Trinidad and Tobago any longer. So we're taking a break from the normal rigorous independency this evening for me to deal with a very important, what I think is a very important topic. And also the information that he's given, the love affair that he has with me stealing Kalian equipment, is a story I told, and it's something that happened 33 years ago. Now, for those of you who just started listening to independency, you would ask yourself the question about how come this man on the radio and this man accusing him of thieving equipment from a band? You would know that is a story I told 33 years ago. And I confess that to you. So I'll when I come back, I'll show you the picture of the said Kalian band with me and the band, and then we'll take it from there. All right. This is important to me and our brand and dependency, and somehow I have to protect it. And I think I choose to do that this evening. All right. So we're going to take a break. We'll be back with that. Stay right there.
This is reality radio at its best. I on Dependency on I-95.5 FM.
Some of us like to play games of chance, but remember, gaming should be fun, so don't get carried away. Play for a prize, but don't pay the price. Play for fun, but never for keeps. Play smart, but never play all. Winning isn't everything. If you or someone you know needs help, call our gambling addiction hotlines. Rebirth House 24-hour hotline 466-3146 or Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women 648-5401. An initiative of NLCB and I on Dependency.
The UNODC Truck for Tip project, in collaboration with the Counter-Trafficking Unit, will host an open forum on Microsoft Teams, collaborating to combat human trafficking on Tuesday, 24 August, from 4 to 6 p.m. The forum will explore the role that businesses, manufacturers, retailers, and self-employed persons can play in the fight against human trafficking. Contact the CTU at 627-1339 or email countertraffickingunit@gmail.com to receive a link to the meeting.
Actually, I survived 2 cancers. The first one was a cervical cancer in 1990, and the second was a colon in 2011.
Don't miss episode 4 of Ion Health, focusing on cancers in women, this Sunday from 8:30 p.m. on TV6 and from 8:45 p.m. on the Ion Dependency YouTube channel.
I'm Danielle, and you're listening to I on Dependency, where every life is a biography. Trinidad and Tobago. Don't traffic drugs, it's not worth it.
Right. Thank you for staying with us, folks. As you know, Independency, we provided platforms for people to speak about their challenges, whether drug addiction, gambling, alcoholism, whatever. We've provided that, and we've been doing it for the last 19 years. We have helped a lot of lives, and most of all, we produce tangibles for Trinidad and Tobago. And I'll show you what that is in a moment. Shortman, put up the first picture for me. Now, remember, for those of you who joined Independency late, right? When I say late, I mean you just started listening to Independency. You would have probably missed when I told my life story. the picture that you're seeing on the screen is me in the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment kit and that of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. That's when I was a prisoner. Now, I never hid that from anybody because I felt that if I have to help save lives and prevent servicemen, especially from walking the road I walk, I have to tell you who I am and why I have the experience to speak and the authority to speak on what I speak. I've been there, done that. I've spent time on the streets. I've spent time in prison. You name it, I've been there, sat down, had a smoke, drink, and came back. And now I'm trying to prevent other servicemen, especially, and people at nationals of Trinidad and Tobago, whether I'm enemy or my friend, from your children from walking the road that I walk. So the first picture you're seeing here, and you could join us on Facebook and YouTube because I'm going to give Mr. Pinal a lesson this evening. And as I said, as a former teacher, I think you are a present danger to Trinidad and Tobago. Nobody can do anything about it because you're free to buy a phone. You could call all radio stations and say what you want. However, when coming to the brand and dependency, I will protect it. Now, this picture you're seeing here, again, is me in my military uniform. This is my first Independence Parade, 1982. Very proud moment for me. But there's a thin line between both pictures. I crossed that line and end up in the prison clothes, right? As you see there, in the uniform of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. Not something I'm proud of, but if putting this picture up, I could save a life or two, then I could explain it to you how not to cross that line. And that is the journey I embarked on ever since I walked out of the Golden Grove prison, or Frederick Street, on the 11th of June, 91, sorry, the 11th of June, 1991. Now, I use this picture in my presentations when I lecture to everyone who would listen and look. As I said, I'm not proud of it. But the next picture, Shortman put it up. Now, this is the image of me and the band Kalyan. Now, I confess to you all as well, when I just started this program, that the reason I was arrested and charged for larceny because I had an opportunity to sing with Kalyan, and the place where I was staying, I sold the furniture from the people's house. I was living on Cooperative Street by Frankie Boudrum at the time. And I sold the furniture to buy cocaine. So I had to leave. And I asked the band leader, who you see sitting in front row there with the guitar next to Debbie Jacob, for a place to stay. He told me I could stay in the band room. I started stealing the equipment from the band room because I was hooked on cocaine. It's as simple. I just didn't decide I'm going to destroy this band by stealing the equipment. I was hooked on cocaine. I knew what I was doing, but I couldn't stop myself. And I told you all the dangers of using cocaine, what it can do to you. I didn't just decide to throw away my career by using cocaine. It don't work like that. So, but this happened, folks, 33 years ago. That's me you see in the center there with the spotlight on, what you call on me. That's me. I look nothing like that now. But
yes,
that's the
kind
time.
of do, you know, just about
yes, you're
30
skinny,
pounds lighter. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, because that time I was hitting cocaine very hard, right? But today, the members of Kalyan and I are very good friends. As a matter of fact, I sang with Kalyan after this incident. They invited me to sing with the band again, although some people felt they were crazy. But you know, this is the love that Arthur and Stokely and they had for me. Now, ironically, I met Arthur and Stokely coming out of the supermarket just Wednesday gone, and we stand up and shoot the breeze. Arthur and his brother played at our wedding. When we were married, Arthur came and set up his equipment and thing and played at our wedding. So we have a very good relationship, but Mr. Pinal don't seem to think so. And he continues to remind me about the equipment that I stole and all this kind of thing. This picture represents the band Kalyan. The next picture represents the get-together we had when I-95 was on Tragrit Road. And this you could see Stokely Barrow, Arthur Marcial on the far right, Stokely on the far left, Colin and Debbie in the center, and I at the back, representing the three frontline vocalists for Kalyan at the time. We had a reunion at I-95 when we were on Tragrit Road. So if these people had a problem with me, Mr. Pinal, they would have never even come close to me. But what I did, when I came out of prison, I went to Arthur who you see on the right, and I apologize to him and his entire family. Today, we are like family. So
He even adopted one of the puppies that my dog has.
but they're good. But you on every radio station trying to disparage me and the work that we've been doing on independency. And I'm not having it. Because as I said, when people listen to you now, this incident you continue to bring up on national radio, people will think that I stole car and equipment last week. And that's not so. That's my past. And all because of a calypso I sang that you and your racist friends inspired. Because I told you in the calypso, cut out the foolishness. This race war you and your friends trying to start in Trinidad and Tobago right after the election. Because the PNM won the election, all of a sudden we nigger this and nigger that, and I'm using the word in this context here. And you continue to spew. Now, I must say, congratulate. I want to say enough respect to Sergio. Sergio Dean is a man I'm going to respect. That's why I tend to listen to him, because he don't condone race, stupid talk on his program in the evening that he has on 90.5. But this man continue to so listen to him when he talk about Pan in the middle of Pan Monte. Listen to this, and I hope you could hear it. Put up that volume for me.
The person that will have to bring this to the general public, going out there and trying to browbeat people into liking something, and when they hear it, they may or may not. You cannot browbeat people into liking a musical instrument and having all kind of strong feelings about it. A musician has to play it, and people like you, Sadro, with the skill to record and so on, have to present this thing in a way that is pleasing to the ear. And if that is not happening because of the limitations of the instrument, the limitations of the musician, or whatever forces are holding it back, well, then people are not going to like it. And I am saying that this thing is widely available, and for some reason, it's not getting the kind of carry, it's not picking up all around the world. Any musician anywhere in the world that have heard this instrument and feel, I want that in my song, I want that on my performance, I want that when I'm recording or whatever, they can have it, but they're not taking it. So that tells me that it has basically reached where it is going. Yes, you'll get a few people here and there adding on and a few dropping out, like in anything. To me, it has reached where it is going.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
No, as I say, Sergio, I admire the man. This is why I asked him one time, let's have a conversation on race relations in Trinidad and Tobago, because he don't encourage racial stupid talk like a lot of callers tend to bring to his program when they try. He's cut them off, and I really appreciate him for that. Now listen to this man's thoughts on Piccadilly Street, and then I'll go through
the other side of the bridge, on Queen Street, where it ends on Piccadilly Street. And that's the only bridge I have crossed there that I know about on the other side of the bridge. The school is on Piccadilly Street, so I had to go across that bridge. But this thing about all them people behind the bridge and thing, I did not speak about that. I simply spoke about the Panyard going to be in a high crime area. And even when I had worked at Piccadilly School, the principal had warned me, don't stay there after 6, which I had no plans of doing, and don't accept invitations to anybody's houses if you get invited as a teacher for something or the other. I also had no plans of doing that. I was leaving there at 3 in the evening, right? So that's the only thing I said about that, and even now the security there is a million times worse. It's not about them people and this people and that people. Nobody's going to go there. You know, Kingsley, who calls here, has said that that place is not going to attract any tourists. I take it that he knows better than most of us. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Right.
Now, this person was a teacher in a school on Piccadilly Street.
No, you heard,
I cannot imagine. Sorry, go
no,
ahead.
you heard what he had to say about the people. The principal tell him don't go by lie.
He know nothing.
Principal tell him don't go by people if they invite you.
Ridiculous.
And you
teaching in a school in our community, and you don't want to interact with the people in the community of the children that that go into your school that you're teaching?
Now hear what he's saying about the pan.
Oh my God.
No, that is because they're
Lies.
so upset at Dr. Rowley and they cut the ribbon for desperados. Hear what he say about that. Let me ask you something, mister. You ever see any Indian instrument in these same orchestras you're talking about that people wouldn't hire? Or you ever hear Flight of the Bumblebee played by desperados? Or any classical pieces played by any steel orchestra in this country? You talk about the limitation of the instrument and the pan man. You know what you're saying? And you are national of Trinidad and Tobago talking this crap on national radio, and the world hearing you in when we observing Pan Month. You for real? But I want to ask you the question. Shortman, go to the next clip. Let me take you on a journey here, Mr. Penal. I'm a Penal graduate. Right? Because I graduated from the penal institution. Right? And look, I insisted when I came on air that we just not going to only talk and bring bacchanal to Trinidad and Tobago. This is why we walk the road less traveled and we're not as popular. But you see this picture you're seeing here? This is one tangible we produce for Trinidad and Tobago. We brought prison radio to Trinidad and Tobago. This is the breakfast meeting we had. And as you will see, the British High Commissioner at the time, among other luminaries in this shot here. Let's go to the next picture. I'm telling you about tangibles, right, that we produce to our country. You're a teacher. You boast all the time that you are a teacher. Let us know, the next time you call the radio station, let us know what tangible you have produced apart from racists. Because I could imagine when you had a chance to sit among people of your like mind, what you said to them and why our racial problem has festered so much in Trinidad and Tobago, because you're retired now. So I could imagine how many seeds you planted while you were teaching, because you went back, as you see, you left Port of Spain. But strange enough, when they invite me to Penal and the different schools to come, I never thought about the race of people I'm going to speak with. I felt that they were citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and I needed to speak to them about the dangers of substance abuse and its related ills. You see this picture here? These are prison officers and prisoners working side by side at the radio station. That's the white guy on the right there. We brought down to Trinidad and Tobago to install the radio station at maximum security prison. You know when we felt proud, Natasha and I? When we sat with Mr. Fitzgerald Hines and the PS of National Security, and the plan is to go to prison radio station to educate the prisoners on the importance of vaccinating. That was a proud moment for us, because this is why we installed the radio station in the first place, so that prisoners could get educated and use it for that purpose. The next slide you're seeing here is Arthur Snell, who was the British High Commissioner at the time, and Hubert Volney, who was Minister of Justice at the time. And this is the opening of the prison radio station. So they gave us money to open the radio station. We did that. All accounted for. Here it is, Mr. Penal, are tangible for Trinidad and Tobago. Let's go to the next slide. You see, you're trying to diminish the efforts of us, and I'm not going to have it any longer. The drug treatment courts, and there's another thing I want to say to Justice Malcolm Olive. I listen to you too, and we need to stop the killing in Trinidad and Tobago. Killing not only going on the streets, but it's going on in certain areas of influence. If the history of Trinidad and Tobago is written, what are you all going to say how the drug treatment courts came to Trinidad and Tobago? The drug treatment courts came to Trinidad and Tobago because of Garth and Natasha. That is where we're supposed to start history from, not in the middle, at the beginning. So it didn't have anything to do with Justice Jeffrey Henderson, or Justice Ivor Archie. It started with Garth and Natasha. Because the next slide will show you, Mr. Penal, that I wanted an alternative to sentencing. I went to prison. Myself and other sailors and soldiers and young men lost our career because we were addicted to a substance that we didn't know about, and the defense force didn't know about either. So I ended up in prison, and I lost a career. But the next slide, go to the next slide quickly, short man. The Brooklyn Drug Treatment Court, this is where we found out about drug treatment courts existed. So we decided to do our own research before we approach the judiciary. That's where it started. It cannot start before that, because Trinidad and Tobago, there was the lady leading the secretariat at a function at the British High Commission in front of the British High Commissioner, Mr. Fitzgerald Hines, Mr. Wilson, Ms. Joan Williams, and a few number luminaries. She thanked Garth and Natasha for bringing the idea to Trinidad and Tobago. So this is Natasha and I with Joe Modania, Project Director, Brooklyn Treatment Court, and Joanne Ferdinand, who is the presiding judge at Brooklyn Treatment Court. That's the first drug treatment court we visited. See us there presenting them with a token of their appreciation for giving us their time. That's us in the picture with them. That is what we produce for Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Pinal. So, and this drug treatment court now working to save people's life and give them alternative sentences rather than them going to prison for them to end up with a record. The next picture, we visited the Center for Court Innovation. That's another place that we visited, and we interviewed Valerie Rain. We played those interviews. We brought them back to Trinidad and Tobago. We played them for you, for all to listen. The importance of drug treatment court, right? There's a picture again. This is how drug treatment court came to Trinidad and Tobago. That's a tangible, Mr. Pinal. What other tangible you produce for Trinidad and Tobago other than racists? Let's go to the next slide. New York State Unified Court System. That's Natasha. We presented Natasha with a book. And the book is, you want to remind the audience about the
Yes.
this is
Right, Joe Paricio.
He's
He's statewide drug court coordinator for New York State Unified Court System. And he presented us with this book. It's a very thick book called the Drug Court Judicial Bench Book, basically showing how judges in New York State treat with matters before them in the drug court system.
That's another tangible, again, Mr. Pinal, we produce for Trinidad and Tobago. And then the big one that we consider that we're really proud of, Mr. Pinal, was the movie Traffic. That did something for Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, it went over people's head, but the Trafficking in Persons report for Trinidad and Tobago, and you can go online, check it yourself, because as I said, our objective was to produce tangibles for this country, right? I just didn't want to come on the radio and talk. We just didn't want to come here and talk. This is why our programs are so tightly packed and well produced, because every time we finish, you must learn something. Go to the next slide, short man. The Trafficking in Persons report, after we produced the film Trafficked, a film that showed in 20 film festivals, won awards because of one of the stories that we got from our nationals abroad who were arrested for attempting to traffic drugs into the United Kingdom. Look what this report said. Is the 2017 TIP report. Natasha, you can read it for them, please. Read it for Mr. Pinal.
Under the heading of prevention, the CTU, which is the counter-trafficking unit, also promoted the national broadcast of a locally produced movie, Trafficked, and aired public service announcements during the broadcast. This is when Trafficked was aired on TV6.
Now, could you tell them where to find this so that they will know we're not making this up?
This is taken from the Trafficking in Persons report. If you Google Trafficking in Persons report 2017, you will find the link to the U.S. State Department where you can download a PDF, which is about 350 pages long, and you can read how, and it includes a report on every country, including Trinidad and Tobago, and where they are ranked in terms of the tiers. And in this report in 2017, Trinidad and Tobago was elevated from tier 3 to tier 2 as a result of the efforts of the counter-trafficking unit.
Using the film Trafficked as well. All right? That is something you could find the thing by Obama, who the captured about extraordinary people and ordinary people. Mr. Pinal, so you're going around and you continue to use what the story I told against our program. I won't say me, because as I said, history must be properly documented. And these are the tangibles that Natasha and I produce for Trinidad and Tobago. And if not for me, you see, for this lady sitting next to me here, she had not had a proper vacation since she met me. Because all these missions we went on, she took her vacation to do that. True. She didn't take time off from work. She took a vacation to go and get tangibles to bring back for Trinidad and Tobago. I would not be where I am without her. So when you disrespect me, on the radio, you disrespect her, you disrespect our Dependency, and of course, our support. I want to let you know that as an elder in Trinidad and Tobago, you are doing us a disservice. You are doing this country a disservice. People all over from Brooklyn to London to New York listen to the radio station in Trinidad and Tobago, and your name always comes up because you are the leading spokesperson for the racists and the dangerous people in Trinidad and Tobago.
What is his name? Does anybody know his name?
He don't even have the balls to tell us his name. He just go by Mr. Pinal. I don't care. All I'm saying to you is, sir, is that as a former teacher, you are clear and present danger to Trinidad and Tobago. And when you can make a statement, as you just did about the people in Piccadilly, and the national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago in that disparaging manner, then what you expect for people outside of the country, when they can listen to you speak to us and about us in that manner? I am ashamed to know that you taught in our schools. You're a disgrace to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And all the bright, you like to play a bright, and the sarcastic way you make contributions, it makes me want to think that doing this, what I doing here, is, what's the point? What is the point when you have someone like you who inspired a calypso, and in the calypso I said, the name of the calypso is No Place for Race, and I tell you to cut out your foolishness, what you all doing to try to separate and divide us as a people. We are too small of a country for that. And whether you like it or not, the steel pan is the national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago. End of story. What contribution are you making? Mr. Suraj Rajan Rambachan, play the harmonium. And so he's making a contribution. Right? What instruments do you play apart from the keys on your phone? What other instrument you play? You talk about the pan that is intolerable. You ever see a pan man play Flight of the Bumblebee, as I say, or any piece from Tchaikovsky or Mozart without music sheet in front of them? The world is baffled like that.
Oh, lies. I mean, there are too many songs to mention of artists who have used pan or derivative of pan in their music.
Of course.
Just the two of us is one.
Was a big international hit.
That was a huge hit.
And the Narel make millions of dollars around the world with the same pan.
I mean, come on.
With the pan in reach no way and it reaches its limit. Shut up.
Foolishness.
Because show me one philharmonic orchestra that has a dantel or a dulak or a harmonium playing with them. But you're talking about pan, they don't want the pan, and the man rock sooner. Listen to me. For a teacher, you need to represent retired teachers a little better than you're doing. And coming after me and Kalyan and the love that Kalyan has for me and the relationship we have, all I'm trying to do is protect those who go to Q, go to slide Q.
You have two more pictures to show.
Yeah. Oh yes, yes.
I forget.
I forgot. I won't forget. Yes, another tangible we produced, Shortman. Thank you, Shortman. Another tangible that we produced, Mr. Pinal. You have lotto booths in Pinal too, right?
Yes.
When you approach a lotto booth, you will see this poster. Look at the bottom left-hand corner of it. That's an Dependency logo. Once the NLCB continues to support problem gamblers, that logo will be carved in stone. So anytime you approach the booth and you see that logo, that's another tangible that Natasha and I produced for Trinidad and Tobago. And we are very proud of that, and we thank the NLCB for finally listening to us and came on board with it, because it took some negotiation, but we finally did it. This is another tangible. So now problem gamblers can call these hotlines and get help if they wish. That is what we produced for Trinidad and Tobago. What have you produced, sir? And then the next slide, Shortman. I'll be taking you to school this evening. The Iron Health series. It starts at TV6 right after this program, 8:30. This week we're discussing cancers in women. Next week, Sunday, we'll have Darian Marcelo on with his story and his journey with cancer. So with cancers in men next Sunday. There's another tangible we produce for Trinidad and Tobago. So taking all of this into consideration, Mr. Pinal, what is your contribution apart from trying to divide this nation, apart from trying to hurt us as a people living together in peace and harmony? What contribution have you done, or what tangible have you produced for Trinidad and Tobago? When you're ready, don't rush, write it down, and call the radio station or the radio program that will listen to you and tell us, apart from creating division in our country, what other tangible have you produced for us to live by that could save a life or two? I wait.
Crickets. Yeah, no answer for that.
But I just hate to let you know that Kalyan and I have a very good relationship. Arthur, Stokely, and Spicer, they were the owners of the band. My mother decided to send me to prison so that it to save my life. Thank God she did. It did. I coming up here this evening and I saw a vagrant who I actually sat and smoked cocaine with on Ryson Road. And I looking at him and I saying, but that could have been me. What is wrong with Trinidad and Tobago? Why is it we have a problem with people fighting their way out of addiction and doing what I'm doing? Why some of you would have a problem with that? Why? Give an addict a chance. Give somebody coming out of prison a chance. Give them love and support. And we will do that in return, because all the job we could do now is try to save your children. As I said, I was down in Penal with the counter trafficking unit at least 4 times, speaking to audiences of only East Indian children. Only Indian children. I didn't think twice, Mr. Penal, because Indian children are our sons and daughters too. And they are our brothers and sisters. We live in a very perilous time, Mr. Penal, if you don't notice. And your division is not helping us. It is hurting us. And as far as I'm concerned, you are clear and present danger to the peace and stability of Trinidad and Tobago. I rest my case.
Thank you very much for joining us, folks. Those of you on I-95.5 FM and on Facebook and YouTube, thank you so much. Please stay tuned for Eye on Health coming up at 8:30 on TV6. And for those of you abroad or don't have access to TV, you can tune in to a delayed broadcast at 8:45 on our YouTube channel. So please stay tuned for that, featuring the one and only Hazel Brown, who, for those of you who don't know, is my mom.
Short man, go back to slide E quickly.
A very interesting program about cancers in women.
Yes. And I want you folks out there, please, I beg of you, especially servicemen and women. You see that thin line between my 2 pictures there? It's very easy to cross, but it's not easy to return. Remember that oath you took? Remember the road you walk in, and God will not forgive you because you took an oath. And I know some of you forgot that, but that is what speaks to your tenure. And the decisions you make will decide if you cross that line or not. To you, women and men out there with children, understand you have to monitor your children now and be very, very careful. Keep a close eye on them, because if school reopens and they're back on the road, they have a number of predators waiting for the drugs that are available to them. And we will show you that just before they go back to school. Don't worry. We will school you too, so you'll be forewarned and forearmed dealing with substance abuse in your home. It's a different time we live in now. That's our role and function, and we'll continue that in Jesus' name as long as we get the support. Natasha, thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, don't forget Eye on Health, 8:30 TV6, 8:45 on EOD YouTube channel. Thank you very much.
Okay. Short man, God bless you all.
Be safe. Good night.
Folks. We love you. Facebook, YouTube followers, and you on I-95.5. Have a good evening. Be safe.
Good night.
Good night.
Eye on Dependency. Eye on Dependency, where every life is a biography. On the Eye, 95.5, the most influential name in radio.
This is I-95.5's Who the Cap Fit.